Ahoy, ladies! I didn't see you there. Would you guys like to set sail on this ocean of flavor with me? I'll be your captain. I'm Steve Harrington.
And I'm Colin.
And I'm Doug, filling in for Whitney. And this is Scoops Ahoy, a Stranger Things podcast, where we go week by week, chapter by chapter, taking a look at every episode of Stranger Things. We are still in the deep, dark void, waiting for season 5. And for this episode, we are digging into our vault to resurrect this sound effect.
Ooh.
As we look back at season 1 through 4 and offer our overall superlatives in each of our 4 categories.
That was fun. There's so many of these things that we used to play like every week,
Yes.
and we haven't heard them like in so long. It's just so fun. We're getting close. There will be a time very soon when we start doing that again. But yes, we are going to talk about best line, most spirited, or best, most nostalgic, most 80s thing, most Stranger Thing, and MVP. So the old stalwarts from Whitney and my Scoops Ahoy chapter recaps days are back. And Doug and I had to only pick one, kind of. We make our own rules.
Yeah, that's right.
From across all 4 seasons so far. So yeah, tall order. But before we jump in, we did have some Stranger Things news since last we talked. Filming is officially wrapped.
Wow.
They had their wrap party, so now we're just in the deep dark void of waiting for post-production to wrap up and stuff. But everything has been filmed, so presumably, we would be only a matter of months away from a trailer of some kind or a teaser of some kind. They can, kind of throw some stuff together and, add some visual effects and, that kind of thing to get something
Uh-huh.
out. But there's been a lot of really neat stuff on Instagram and Twitter. We'll post some stuff on our socials. Millie was on Instagram, saying goodbye to everybody, and Mike had a nice little thing. And there's been all kinds of pictures, and the Duffers posted some stuff, and Stranger Things, Netflix account posted some stuff. So if you haven't, I'm sure most of you guys have seen those across the various, Twitters and Instagrams and stuff. So that's one thing. The other thing is that Hawkins High has officially been torn down, so we'll share some pictures of those. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. It's not a surprise. We've been
Sure,
talking
yeah.
about a couple episodes, but it is kind of odd to think that, the once beloved Hawkins High and Hawkins Elementary School buildings are no more. They were a pile of rubble a couple weeks ago. It's probably just empty ground right now.
Wild.
So yeah, we're officially coming to the end of this thing, which is
We're
kind of
getting
exciting. So
closer.
yeah,
Yeah, it is. It is. We we have an email later that pretty much summed up my sentiments too. We'll get to it, but it was very funny. I forgot who wrote it, but yeah, it's just like, oh, this is coming. I'm kind of nervous about it,
right.
but I want it, but I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, I want it, but no, I don't. But yes, I do. But no, I don't. But
Yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
do.
yeah. That's
It's
right.
just it's going to be so. I mean, I've been we've obviously had so long to think about it, and so I've been kind of picturing when it actually comes back, and taking the day off from work and parking in front of a TV all day, and this kind of stuff, and actually getting new content and
Yes.
seeing how this whole thing wraps up, and but then yeah, it's the double-edged sword of it will be wrapped up, as long as it's not here, we have something to look forward to. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah, it's
interesting.
such a. I was thinking about it. I sat down the other night and I watched the last 2 episodes of season 3 just for fun. I was watching something heavier before that, so I needed something light.
Right.
It was just lovely, and it's been so long, and season 4, I think I've said before, I think it is my favorite. Um, it seems like I don't I can't even describe it. It seems like it almost ended, and I'm like totally satisfied with season 1 through 4 because it's so
Right.
great. Like I got
Yeah.
nothing to
Yeah.
complain about,
Yeah.
and I don't.
I'm
Yeah.
struggling to articulate it. It's weird.
Yeah. It is kind of weird. It's very strange. And I mean, it obviously ended on a cliffhanger, but still it was a very nice ending to kind of wrap up. I didn't think that we were looking at a 3-year delay before we got back to it, but that's okay. The other thing, I could have sworn Whitney and I talked about this, but I went back and I couldn't find it anywhere. There was a really cool minute-long video that I tripped on Twitter on the Scoops Ahoy account because I kind of follow all the Stranger Things, everybody, CEO of HNL and all those people.
Hmm.
And it's a really interesting. It's kind of a very fast edit kind of. It's not a behind the scenes. It's not an outtakes, but it's edited in such a way that it's really kind of funny. So I'm going to put it up on our socials, and you guys can see that too. It's just little tiny little fast clips from I seem to remember it was all four seasons. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it was all four seasons.
Hmm.
So we'll post that up on our socials too. So that'll be kind of fun to take a look at. I
Cool.
remember seeing it before, and I don't know why I wouldn't have shared it at the time, and I may have. But anyway, it's good and it's worth seeing again. So, and
Oh,
then
fun.
the other thing I wanted to get to before we get going is we had our Spotify Wrapped. Anybody who's on Spotify, you get the kind of the year-end wrap up of your most popular songs and your popular genres and that kind of stuff. But we also get them too as podcasters. So we get kind of all the demographics of who listens to us, how many people listen to us, where they're listening from, how many more people than last year, that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so which is really kind of neat. So in the past year, we were streamed actually in 54 countries, which is kind of fun. The top
Yeah.
10 were the US, the UK, Australia, Canada, Germany, New Zealand, Belgium, Ireland, the Netherlands, and Sweden. So those are our top 10 listening countries. US is, far and away, it's almost, I think it's about 40%. UK is
Hmm.
about 20%. Australia and Canada are kind of in the 10% range. Then it goes down from there. But yeah, 54 different countries, 29,000 streams over the course of uh,
Ooh,
2024, which is fairly impressive.
I like it.
We are the top 10 podcast, or you're in the top 10 podcast for 958 people. We're in the top five podcast for 644 people, and we are the number one podcast for 148 people. So, it's kind of fun.
I
It's,
like it.
you know, give you, a little pat on the back.
Yeah, I like it. Did you do your own personal unwraps, Colin?
Yeah, well, mine skews, and it's always so funny because a lot of the time during the day I listen to like movie scores and stuff like
Oh,
that.
sure.
So like my top song is usually like the first track from like the Brooklyn score or
Oh,
the
okay.
Age of Adeline score or something like that, which is kind of bizarre because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I mean I do
Yeah.
listen to other music, but every working day of the year, pretty much. I just sit down and I have a movie scores, you know, playlist.
Hmm.
And it's usually like whatever the first one is, unless I just, scroll through and go to a favorite one or something like that. So it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. But like my most popular song has been my most popular song for like the past 4 years. Just
Oh,
because it's like first in my
oh,
which is kind of
oh,
funny.
drag.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a bummer.
My
Um,
most popular song was of the year was Wholehearted by Extreme. I just got obsessed with that song this year.
oh,
Such a throwback.
it is. But that's good.
I,
Yeah.
I feel like I stumbled upon it randomly and I was just like, whoa, this song is super fun.
Yeah.
I got addicted to that. And my top artist was Fugazi, which I mentioned the last time. I
Yeah.
was in like an absurd percentile for some of these things. I was like, man, I have a pretty independent like free roaming job,
Yeah.
that I got to work on the regular non-podcast days. Um, but I'm listening to music like all day, and I could not believe I was in like the top 0.0001% of amount of time listened to Spotify.
Oh, really?
It's like,
Wow.
wow. Gee.
Yeah, I should
So
actually like for 6 months not try to not listen to movie scores, like listen to like classical music on the radio or listen to like iHeartRadio or
sure,
Pandora or
sure.
something like that, just so I can actually see
It is a fun little thing that
what
they
what
do.
my favorite songs would be.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, my taste is so eclectic too. I mean, some days I'll listen to Nine
Right.
Inch Nails, some days I'll listen to like country, some days I'll listen to,
Yeah.
80s pop. It's just it's all over the place. So
Oh yeah, me too.
but but yeah, so I did want to thank all of you guys because you guys all make this possible for us. across the 54 countries and the 29,000 streams and the 148 of you who made us your number one podcast for the year. And everybody else, thank you, really, truly.
Hell yeah.
Because, we love doing this, and, we would do it if nobody listened, but it sure is nice when we know people are listening. So
It is an added bonus.
that is a good thing. So,
Hey, we're being all gracious here. I am so honored to still be here on this podcast. I'm having such a fun time.
yeah,
Thank you for having me, Colin.
absolutely. Yeah, I had those 2 weeks where I did it by myself, and this is much, much more preferable.
All right, killer.
It's very nice. So yes, thank you for hopping on board. So
Awesome.
okay, you want to hop into you broke the rules right off the bat, so we'll let you go ahead and start.
Sure.
And then we'll get into mine, and then we'll get into we got some emails from folks. And then we'll tell you about what's coming up for next month's episode, and that should pretty much do it. So I'll let you take it away.
All right, Doug Superlative. So I formatted each of my categories. I picked my favorite from each season, and then I picked a grand champion from wherever I pleased.
Yeah, I should clarify. Doug and I were talking before this. You guys all, I'm sure, remember when Whitney and I were doing the chapter by chapter recaps. We would get done with a season, and we would do an overall recap of the season, going through all the various chapters. We had like little trivia questions we would ask each other. And, we would talk about, who had the most lines and all that kind of stuff. And then Whitney and I did our superlatives for that season. So I actually, when it's my turn, I picked my top MVP for all 4 seasons and my top best line from all 4 seasons. So, but you didn't get to do that because you weren't co-hosting back at that time. So yes, you can go season by season if you like, and we had some other emailers that did that too, which is perfectly fine. I love it.
Cool.
More content, so go for it.
All right, first category, best line. So my honorable mentions for season 1, and I think this is probably amongst everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
But season 1, episode 1, Karen's dinner table frustrations with her glorious husband.
I hope you're enjoying your chicken, Ted.
What did I do? What did I do?
What I do. That's got to be part of it. I do like the what I do.
Yeah, that's that's one of my permanent sound clips that I have just saved, along with the coffee and contemplation and, chocolate pudding and all that kind of stuff. So, but yes, also, very, very good line.
I do remember that. That was a really good scene to get me really hooked on the show. I remember that was a very well written family dinner table. I was laughing very hard.
It was good. It was a nice little bit of levity too in the middle of everything. In a season that starts with the lab guy running crazy through the halls, and then all that kind of stuff, to actually have some. I'm sure it gave a lot of people a little bit of a breath and a sense that this is a show that is gonna be. There's gonna be some scary. There's gonna be some horror. But there's also going to be some nostalgia. There's going to be some compassion and some familial love and
family dynamics,
that kind of stuff, and some lighthearted stuff. So yeah,
absolutely.
I totally agree.
All right, for season 2, from episode 2, I have Hopper after messing up with Elle on Halloween.
All right, I'm just gonna be out here by myself eating all this candy. I'm gonna get fat. It's very unhealthy to leave me out here.
I might die.
Sit out on the couch. Yeah.
That's good. Oh, real good. For season 3, from episode 7, Alexei and Murray driving back to Hawkins as Joyce and Hopper argue in the front seat after Murray just tells him to get it over with. We get a... Go ahead.
Что там говорил? Я сказал, что надо заняться сексом. У них что, секса не было? Да.
Yeah, the subtitles read, "What did you just tell them?" And Murray said, "I just told them that they should have sex." And Alexei said, "What? They haven't had sex yet?" And then they start laughing. So, yeah,
Yes. My favorite line from season 3 is a subtitle.
yeah.
It's so good.
Perestroika glasnost. Yeah,
I like that scene too. It was really, that's when the bond is really formed with
yeah,
Murray and Alexei.
absolutely.
Good stuff. For season 4, this is such a personal favorite, but I cannot not include this. But season 4, episode 6, Argyle, when Enan interrupts the American Tendo conversation at Susie's house.
Susie, I don't know what you're doing, but I am not spending my entire day babysitting. Pull your damn weight.
Language.
Oh no. Am I gonna burn in hell now?
Oh, you tell her, Eden.
Oh,
You
you
sit there
tell
with
her, Eden.
oh, he's got this glazed look at us like, oh, I'm in love. You
Oh,
tell her,
yes.
Eden. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. He's got Dreamweaver playing in his head.
Oh, yeah.
Super good. All right, and my all-time winner from all of these. This is pretty small, but I don't know why this sticks with me so much, but I just absolutely love this line every single time. And this is Max after the gang finds Eddie in the boathouse.
You won't believe me.
Try us.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
It's so, yeah. Just
So good. It's like the culmination of all their experiences. Just,
Yeah. And I love that it came from Max, too. I mean, it could have come from any of them.
Yes. That's
But,
right.
for Max, who was, kind of in the throes of, the clocks and dealing with the guidance counselor and everything else.
Yes,
And,
that's right. That's right.
yeah, really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's my number one. All right, so on to Most Spirited. My honorable mentions from season 1 are as follows. Well, season 1 is Nancy's Room. Just lovely.
With the Tom Cruise poster
You have a
and
Tom
yeah, I
Cruise
mean, all the, and
poster.
the ruffly bed sheets and
Oh, yes.
the whole
It's all the
shebang.
bed sheets. They're just
Yeah.
so frilly.
Yep.
So it looks almost uncomfortably comfortable.
Yeah. And she had the pre-Pinterest kind of, vision board with all the pictures and the ticket stubs
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Good stuff, yes. Season 2, it shows the whole design of the snowball. Just
Yep.
so good. All the dresses, all the outfits, everything at the whole dance and all that jazz. Just
And the
spot
music
on.
too. We
Oh,
can
well, sure, yeah.
shout out
Without a doubt.
Twist of Fate one more time. Yeah.
There we go. For season 3, I chose Melville's General Store and Joyce's Price Gun.
Right.
Good throwback to all
Ka-chink,
those
ka-chink.
old stores.
Yeah.
That they're just, orange price labels.
Yeah. Little stickers. And I was watching something somewhere the other day, and I can't remember what it was. And they had one of the old time credit card ka-chunk
Oh, yeah.
things. You put the card in the carbon paper.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
ka-chunk. Yep. Same
For
idea.
sure. All right, totally. And then season 4, of course, is Rinkomania. I've mentioned that before. I can't get enough of that. I mean, I lived at the roller rink, and that was they nailed it. It was good.
Yep.
Shooting the duck. All right, and drum roll. My most spirited
Wait,
winner.
I can give you the drum roll.
Oh, hit me, baby.
Oh yeah, here we go.
The Sinclair Kitchen from season 2.
Oh, you makes Whitney somewhere is applauding your taste.
Yes, I saw on the cheat sheet that was Whitney's pick, and I actually went back and I was listening to that episode just to get her take. And it's all about the wheels on the chairs, man.
Yeah, right.
All the white, the wheels on the chairs. I grew up and I did not have wheels on my chairs in the kitchen. And my grandparents did, and my one uncle did. And man, we just wanted to go there to sit in these wheeled chairs.
Oh, I did them. Yeah, they were like office chairs. They were on wheels and they swiveled. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was great. It was like a fake leather, like a pleather.
Oh yeah.
But they reclined and they spun and they wheel. It was literally an office chair. But that was our kitchen table chairs. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this need to come back.
Right?
Ah.
But yes, good choice. And I'm sure Whitney is applauding too.
Awesome. All right, on to the most Stranger Things. So for season 1, I chose episode 3, the old RUN.
Yep.
Never gets old. Really intense right when it hit. Always a thrill.
Yeah.
For season 2, episode 5. This was close to my overall grand champion, but this is the end of the episode when they start burning in the tunnel and Will just hits the deck. Ah!
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. 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 We've talked about
Freaky.
that many times. Yeah. Really, really good. Yeah. It's like a kind of a convulsive kind of, yeah.
Oh yeah. Season 3, I chose episode 3, where 11 is in the deep dark void searching for Heather and approaches the bathtub, the ice bath, and she launches out of it. Big jump scare.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Always freaks me out. And it got me real good the first time.
I like that.
do
I like the
remember.
drop right after that too. When Elle
Oh yes, yes.
kind of starts tumbling, into the deep
Yes.
dark void, and yeah, that's really cool.
Yes. Season 4, I chose from episode 9. Did not choose Chrissy snapping. I chose Max snapping, which was just, oh no, no.
Yeah, I literally remember sitting there going, "Don't snap, don't snap, don't snap, don't snap,
Yes.
don't snap." Yeah,
I
yeah,
did the exact same thing. Oh, please,
Yep.
no, no.
yeah. You know it's coming. You know there's nothing you can do to stop it, but you still don't want it to happen. Yep.
Oh, awful. And my grand champion. We doing a drum roll?
Oh, yeah, and get back to the drum roll. Yep, sure.
Is season 1, episode 4, Hopper thrusting the knife into Will's fake body.
Ah, yes, with the little puffy
Oh yeah,
teddy bear filling inside it.
it's
Yep.
me every time. I was so on edge watching.
Yeah, that was
show.
another one. I clearly remember sitting there going, don't cut, don't cut, don't cut,
Don't
don't,
do it, don't do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right, on to the final category, MVP. From season 1, I sort of I went as I was going through this. I sort of ended up picking both the character and the actor.
Okay.
And it just sort of happened serendipitously for most of them, not all of them, but I was like, oh, these are both the same for at least 3 of them here.
Yeah.
But for season 1, my MVP is Mike. It sort of seemed as going into after season 1, it had a bit of a yeah. I thought that Mike was going to be somewhat of the main character of the show with 11, and it sort of
Sure.
drifted away from that. But based on season 1, like he really drives the whole thing with the friends, and I love his acting. Finn's acting in season 1, is very believable and very good
Yeah.
for a young child. All the great lines with yelling at Karen, coming,
Okay, man.
and then the real emotional parts, especially at the end when
Hang up the
on that
phone.
yeah, that's right. So yeah, season 1, I had Mike/Finn.
Okay.
For season 2, it ended up being the same thing. It's Will/Noah. I think he is phenomenal in season 2 as just this half possessed, just really struggling mentally kid. And he does a great job acting, and really, it's horrifying some of the things
Yeah,
he does.
yeah. I mean, you think about all the stuff that he went through when
Mhm.
and when the mind flayer gets him out on the playground, or the smoke monster kind of,
Yeah.
and then the whole exorcism bit was just crazy. I mean, even not only just the straight exorcism when, they're, hitting him with the poker and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
but before that, when they had him in Hopper's or in the
Oh yes.
shed, and he's sitting there and he
Yeah,
has
look,
to,
he's giving. He's got like his
I mean-
head hanging.
I mean, he has to be himself and
Yes.
possessed and occasionally be aware that he's possessed and try to get through to them and do the tapping. And yeah, I think it's really phenomenal work. And I remember talking a lot about that when we were talking about the episodes at the time.
it was really
Noah
strong.
really, hit a home run.
Yeah, he's good. He's good in several scenes too in season 2 that are not so horrifying. There's that good conversation with him and Jonathan when Jonathan tells him, "Oh, you are a freak."
Yeah, right.
And there was another one I was thinking of. And it escaped me. No big deal. Season 3, I chose Steve slash Joe. Just super funny,
Yeah.
super entertaining. I mean, yeah, he's season 3 is where I really fell in love with Steve.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, you think, yeah, all the Scoops Ahoy stuff, at the beginning,
mhm.
especially like, the lightsaber fight with, Dustin when he comes, and then, going all the way through all the Russian stuff and the torture scene with Robin, and then the whole scene with Robin in the bathroom where she
Oh
comes
yeah.
out, and that whole, I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
it's just, it was kind of his season. I know, Hopper gets a lot of talk, and
Oh yeah.
Robin and Erica too, obviously. Get a lot of attention, and had the ability to kind of up their game a little bit. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Joe Carey was really really good in that season. Absolutely.
Heck yeah. All right, season 4. I chose Brenner slash Modine. I think he's excellent in it. I thought that he played it very subtly and perfectly to the point where there's these like even the first scene in episode 1, you're getting this sense, you know, he's so subdued and withdrawn, and you have these little snippets where there's moments where you think that he really cares about these kids,
Right.
and then his true colors show themselves progressively just with these horrifying things. And it's some of the things that he does are so terrible, but it's not as if he ever like goes off the rails and turns into this monster. He's always
Right.
in control. And
Yeah. He's very very subdued and very. Yeah, it's like kind of kill you with a smile kind of thing. It's just, yeah,
hmm
it's really kind of creepy to go back and watch it and you see.
yeah, I
But yeah,
thought, his performance and the writing is a really nice job of making you sort of think that he's going to be a little bit more gray
yep,
as a character, and then it's just like no, no, no,
yeah, right.
no.
And then I mean his death scene is really good too.
Yes,
Obviously,
yes,
he did a real good job with that too. I think so. Absolutely.
absolutely. All right, and my MVP grand champion, it's Max Sadie Sink.
Duh.
Can't deny it.
If
I had
anything
a
was a foregone conclusion, right?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I did think about Hopper being my grand champion of the world. I
Yep.
mean, he's great throughout
Yep.
the whole thing. There's no denying it. He's probably the anchor of the whole thing, honestly, as far as the acting is concerned. But
Yep.
what Max does, uh, just Max as a character is so fun, and what Sadie Sink does is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I
Unbelievable.
agree, and I think it's really going to help season 5 too because the one thing we've noticed and we've talked about is the Duffers kind of write on the fly and they can kind of go to their strengths, and they know what these kids can do and what they're capable of. And Sadie really proved herself, obviously, in season 4. So I would be very surprised if she doesn't have a really big role in season 5.
Yeah.
Just like they did with Joe Keery when he came in and he was the obnoxious twit, kind of
Yes.
the Eddie, Leave It to Beaver
hmm
Eddie, kind of character. And then what was his name? Eddie Matthews? What was his name? But
Yes.
yeah, um, but then they saw how he was kind of working with everything. So they literally changed the script and made him,
hmm
be much nicer. And that character got the chance to evolve just because
hmm
of they understand where their talent is, and they're not going to sit there and force something that isn't there, but they're also going to take advantage of something that is there.
Absolutely.
So I think I wholeheartedly agree with you. I knew it was coming. I knew that was the only one that I knew for sure was going to be your superlative.
Absolutely.
But yeah, very very good choices all around. I approve.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Max just in season 5. Absolutely. Who knows what sort of state she's going to be in? I would guess that we're going to see her in some sort of deep dark void or something like that.
Yeah,
Who knows? You never know.
right.
But that interests me to see, where she's trapped and
We'll
how she'll play
we'll
that.
get to that, and I'm sure we'll have a theories episode at some point,
Oh, I'm
or
sure.
2
Yes,
or 7,
absolutely.
by the time we get closer. But
I
yeah,
know, right?
Okay, let's jump into mine. So my best line, and what I tried to do is I went back and I looked at what I had picked at the time as my best line from season one or my best line from season two. And I tried to do something different because I don't want to sit there and harp over and over again on, I hope you're enjoying your chicken chat or the, the never ending
Sure, sure.
story, the same ones that I always pick.
Yeah.
So I tried to go a little bit kind of off the beaten path.
Mhm.
Um, but still, be an honest choice. So for my
Yeah.
best line, I had a couple honorable mentions. The first one is just a really funny moment in episode one of season four, and this is when the guys, especially Dustin, are going around trying to recruit people to the D&D game, and Dustin asks Max if she's going to join, and she talks about wanting to get the shirt and everything. So it's this clip.
You're being sarcastic. You're being sarcastic? She's being sarcastic.
She was being sarcastic, yeah.
Excuse me.
And then episode 9 of season 4 is the line that we've talked about a lot. A lot of people have brought up, in our one-liners episodes and, all that kind of stuff. So this is when they're in the fight with, Max is fighting Vecna in the upside down snowball. And then Elle shows up in the upside down, and Max is trying to figure out how it happened.
I'm real. How? I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer.
That's good.
Which is just great. And then I had to obviously throw this in as my last honorable mention.
I hope you're enjoying your chicken, Ted.
It's still one of my top 5 lines ever. So, but
That's
anyway.
good.
So my winner, and this was, I tried to find a line that hasn't really been talked a lot about before, but one that really kind of sums up the show for me. And it's not like a turning point. It's not a major, huge plot development or anything like that. But and you actually just mentioned it a little while ago. So it's the first episode of season 2 when Jonathan and Will are talking about the whole discussion about Kenny Rogers and would you rather be friends with Kenny Rogers or David Bowie and that whole thing. So Jonathan's talking to Will about how Will is Jonathan's best friend. So it's this line.
The thing is, nobody normal ever accomplished anything meaningful in this world. Got it?
Right. I mean, which is kind of the whole show.
Yeah.
Nobody in the show is normal. Everybody has their little quirks. Robin has her quirks, and Dustin has his quirks, and everybody has their own little thing, but they all pull together and they use their lack of normalcy to actually, make a difference and to fight off whatever this creature is and this whole upside down concept and everything else. It's the whole idea, which also speaks on a meta level to just the whole nerds and freaks and the geeks that like the show and that are getting into it and that are presenting this podcast as we speak and that listen to this podcast as we speak. So yeah, that was my overall winner for best line of the whole series to this point.
I like it.
Going into most spirited, and this is like right in my wheelhouse. I mean, everything 80s nostalgic and everything like that. So the couple honorable mentions I had in season 1, episode 3, when Mike leaves Elle at home and she goes kind of wandering around the house and she turns on the TV and there's that really quick montage of 80s ads. There's a Coke ad and there's a He-Man ad and there's like the collector's plates ad, those kind of things. So, it was like a perfume ad too, but they're all just so good. And I honestly, I mean, I think it was actually curated for the moment. I don't think that they actually went back and just happened to trip on this. I mean, I think they actually kind of picked these various things.
Oh yeah, I would imagine.
Talking, behind the scenes to put this little montage together. But that was one that I really remember.
Oh man,
for standing
I love,
out in season 1.
Those old 80s commercials. I used to love, they've never gotten into this on the show, but one thing that we grew up on was like, recording things on your VCR and having like a mixtape of movies and shows that you just taped off a TV.
Yeah.
And as we were getting older, the funnest things that stayed on the tapes were the old commercials from like, I remember I had, we had Ghostbusters on tape, but it was like NBC Sunday Night at the Movies version. We got all the commercials in there.
Well,
You
that
know
was
what?
like, yeah, like in the episode we just did, the 1987 episode. I think one of the
Yeah.
things I put in the socials was that it was like a half an hour block of just random 80s commercials. You know, it was
Yeah.
just so fun to, I mean, I just picked out the crispy wheats and raisins one when we did the episode, but I mean, it was so fun to, I mean, I
Yeah.
sat and watched pretty much all of it, looking at all
Hmm.
the various, the heartbeat of America and
Oh yeah.
we talked about, Cherry 7 Up and that whole thing.
Heck
So
yeah.
yeah, really
Oh
fun.
yes.
Yep.
That pop song. Oh,
Right.
you know what else is? Oh, I'm getting on like a recording tangent, but you know what always happened in my house? We'd be trying to tape a movie off a TV, and after a while, we got hip. We're like, hey, we don't have to record the commercial. Just pause the recording and then turn it back on when it starts back up. And of course,
You'd forget.
you forgot to turn
Right.
it back on. Oh, we never turned.
Right. Well, the other thing I remember, and I remember, I mean, this really vividly, when we hooked up the VCR, there were two ways to hook it up.
Oh
One is that
yeah,
you recorded what was on the TV. The other was you were recording the channel. You could watch something different, but you could
that's
record. So you could be
right.
watching channel 5, but you'd be recording
Yes.
channel 3. So there's two different ways to hook it up. And I remember sitting there trying to make sure we hooked it up the right way. So you'd
Oh
have to
yeah.
record something, you'd flip the channels, then you go back and watch it, make sure you had it hooked up, and then you have to, it was a whole thing. Kids these days know nothing
Oh,
about
they
what
will
we went
never
through.
know.
So
Oh, the old VHS
another
tape.
honorable mention I had for Spirited was episode 7 of season 3, and this was when they're in the Bradley's Big Buy when Ella's injured and they're tending to her wound, and you see the whole cereal aisle. And I remember there was like the Mr. T cereal, and then there were the old boxes for contemporary cereals, like normal ones that are still
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
And there was like Ghostbuster cereal and all that kind of stuff, and sugar,
yeah.
sugar smacks and all the things that were sugar, sugar,
Uh-huh.
sugar that have
Oh
now
yeah.
become like honey smacks and stuff. But I remember that
Uh-huh.
cereal aisle really standing out to me at the time. And then the last honorable mention I had is just the food court at the Starcourt Mall. Um,
Oh, it's good.
it's especially apparent when Robin has figured out the code and she's kind of spinning around and you kind of see all the stores, but
Hmm.
also when Elle and Max are on their little shopping spree to Material Girl and they're wandering around and they have the orange Julius and that whole kind of thing. So just the whole
Yeah,
nostalgia of corn dog on a stick and the old Gap font for their logo, like the original Gap,
yeah, yeah,
that kind of stuff. So that was really kind
yeah.
of fun.
I like the
But
setup too in that whole atrium. That
yeah.
really took me back to my old malls too, because like the mall now that's still around, it's just like, it's just like a big flat open floor and tables abound. But my old mall had like that whole like tiered system of ramps, and we're gonna sit up here, and I can look
Oh
down
yeah,
on you
yeah.
down there with the
Yeah.
plants while you're smoking in the mall.
Right. And there's like fountains and there's all kinds of different things
Yes,
going on and
yes,
like,
yes.
water features and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
fun. So, and then my winner for most spirited for the whole series, is a clip that we've talked about a lot, but not in this context. And that is just one of the most iconic 80s songs. And it's coming out of Eddie's guitar in episode 9 of season 4.
Chrissy, this is for you.
Right? I mean, come on.
So good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
So
it's
good.
just an 80s song. It's like a classic,
Hmm.
top 10 metal anthem of the 80s.
Oh yeah.
So very nostalgic. I mean, they could have picked any song there, but that's the one they picked, and I just thought it was perfect in the
Oh,
moment,
totally.
and I still do. So,
Oh, absolutely. I really like how that really one of the awesomest parts about that being Master of Puppets is like, you go back then, and this was like a real underground freaks and geeks metalhead only song, like, and now, right, everybody knows it. How long later? 30 years later? Who knows? But
yeah,
it's
40
just
years. Yeah,
it was
40.
fun to be transported back to that thing being like a real rebellious, what's the word I'm looking for? Taboo or something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
like don't be listening to that music.
Right. Yeah. Like the forbidden. Yeah. I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
it's the
yes.
same thing with Running Up That Hill, too. I mean, it
That's
was a
true. Yeah.
song that had been, I mean, long forgotten, I remember at the time, but I mean, it was not a top 40 song. It was not a popular, it was not a song that you were going to hear at school dances and, that kind of stuff. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I had never
for,
heard the song before the show myself.
yeah. So, I mean, I was a bit of a Kate Bush fan in the 80s, between
Oh,
Wuthering
cool.
Heights and Running Up That Hill and, stuff that, so I had heard the song. I was aware of the song. But it was not one that 40 years later I was still singing to myself or I had on a playlist or, something like that. So it would never show up on my Spotify Unwrapped. I'll tell you that, but
There you
probably
go.
would have last year, when it came out because I, kind of started listening to it again. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. Okay. So those were my most spirited. Onto my most Stranger Things. A couple honorable mentions. You already mentioned the RUN. That was
Oh yeah.
one. Another scene, and it was kind of funny because I was trying to quickly figure out. I knew roughly what episode this was in, but I didn't remember exactly. And it's just one of those really quick scenes. And
Mm-hmm.
I figured I'd go ahead and Google, scariest moments from Stranger Things, whatever. And this never showed up anywhere, and it is still in my brain as like a terrifying. It's like a jump scare moment.
Oh yeah.
And that is when we see the flashback of Elle going in the sensory deprivation tank and coming out and creeping up behind the Demogorgon, and the Demogorgon turns around, and goes, kind of
Yeah.
does that little thing, and it's just a really quick moment, but absolutely terrifying, and it's still stuck with me, all these years later, as one of the most Stranger Things from the show.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
good pick. I like it.
yeah, and then the other one was one that I remember talking about at the time, and that is the big mind flayer, what you call the hospital goo monster,
Mm-hmm.
that are chasing Nancy and Jonathan in the hospital, kind of the blobus,
Oh yeah.
thing chasing them down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very Stranger Thing moment at the time. But my top overall Stranger Thing is it's the very first thing in the very first episode of the very first season, and it's this. I mean, if that doesn't get you hooked into this show in the first 20 seconds, I mean,
Oh yeah.
and I remember also at the time when we talked about it in the very first episode, I remember um, going through and counting how many camera cuts there were and how many
Mm-hmm.
different, because there's dollies and there's pulls and there's rack focuses and there's, all this kind of crazy stuff going on. So I sat, after I'd seen it, 100 times, and I sat and like analyzed the actual sequence, and I can't remember exactly. I should have looked up the numbers. It was something like 32 edits in 28 seconds or something. It was something crazy like that. I mean, they're all just so super quick. And the klaxon, blaring in the background, and it's just this industrial thing, and you don't know what he's running from, but he's running, and he is terrified because he has
Mm-hmm.
seen something. Um, but yeah, I mean, it just gets you hooked right in from the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Great sound
and
design.
I famously, had to watch it a couple times to get into it. Whitney and I have talked about that a couple times.
Yes.
But I still remember that. It was just fascinating. It was just a great sequence. So that is my winner for overall most Stranger Thing of the series so far.
Good stuff.
And we'll wrap things up with my MVP. So honorable mentions, I had Winona, who I think is just a genius and kind of the bedrock of the show as far as acting goes. I mean, really, other than the smaller characters, like Paul Reiser and Matthew Modine and, some of the recognizable names that, especially kids from the 80s would remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Winona was really the only real, name actor that was, in the show at the time.
Yeah.
So you were kind of looking for her when you were watching the show to kind of ground you and, you know, let you know where you are and what kind of show this is and stuff. And, so a lot of the show was on her shoulders, and she carried it immensely well.
Mm-hmm.
And, just some of her performances, it often gets overlooked because you're just always so awed, by how the kids are doing and, what's going
Mm-hmm.
on and that kind of stuff. But I thought she was incredible. I also obviously have to give Sadie Sink her mention. I knew you were going to talk extensively about her, but
Ah.
I do want to at least voice my approval too. And then I also threw in Joe Quinn, um, just because of what he came into. He came into this obviously so late in the game, into season 4, And
Yes.
a lot of it has to do with the writing and the script that he was given. But you can have the best writing in the world, and if you can't carry it, you can't act.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to do anything. And he was able to take this as a British guy doing an American accent, first of all. So baseline, he's got to, bring in the American accent, which is a whole thing that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
But also just to become as beloved and missed character as he became. I think that just speaks volume to his talent. So I think he may not be an MVP plot wise with some of the other stuff that everybody else was doing, as far as Nancy
Mm-hmm.
shooting Vecna and all this kind of other stuff that happened.
Sure.
But I think just as an actor worth mentioning, I got to give Joe Quinn a whole lot of props. So my
Oh
winner
yeah, he did great.
overall, yeah, my winner overall for MVP, and this is kind of an odd one, but I'm gonna go with it, and it is the character of Steve Harrington. I've talked extensively about everybody's acting abilities and all that kind of stuff, and after a while, Whitney and I kind of get into the habit of I would pick the best acting performance from the
Mm-hmm.
show, and Whitney would pick the best character, or the most important character for the particular episode. So I never really got to, talk about the characters as much as, who gave the best, acting performance. Um, and I'm not saying that Steve is the overall, most important person in the entire show, which is kind of what the MVP is, but I think he is extremely valuable. And I think, again, going back to what we talked about earlier about how the whole character was rewritten because of,
Mm-hmm.
his demeanor and how he was able to carry things, and he was just so lovable, that they made him that character for him to become the babysitter and that kind of thing, and to essentially kind of be our guide, kind of holding our hand too as we're walking through this, because he's babysitting all these kids. He's also kind of babysitting us at the same time.
Mm.
If he's protecting the kids, he's also kind of protecting us as viewers. And, I get every time he was on the screen, I did have a little bit of comfort knowing that he was there. There might be something
He
kind of,
is very comforting.
I mean,
That's the perfect word.
it's just, he might say something lighthearted. He might make a joke. He might be, parental, but he's
Mm-hmm.
going to be the guy that you're going to kind of look to as the lighthouse, as the, kind of the guide dog, to kind of
Mm-hmm.
get you through this. So I did want to give, our favorite babysitter his due.
I may be a pretty shitty boyfriend, but turns out I'm actually a pretty damn good babysitter.
Right? So
Oh yeah.
my vote for MVP across the whole 4 seasons goes to Steve Harrington. So,
I think that is an excellent pick.
there you
I'm
go.
jealous of your pick, man. He is
We're all on the
he's
same
something.
team. It's fine. We're good.
Yeah, he's like what is he? He's like, I don't know. Like you can imagine, and I think like as we were talking about, they had to rewrite it, but you can imagine the structure of the show without Steve existing, kind of. He sort of just forced his way in.
Right.
And I think Steve is a huge reason why the show is successful. Because
Yeah. No, I do too. Yeah.
it's a twist on that bully jock popular
Right.
kid, and oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, you got the whole redemptive arc. I mean, you think
Yeah.
back to the Halloween party with Nancy, right?
Hmm.
When they dressed as, risky business and went to this Halloween party, and he's such an asshole. And he's hanging out with Tommy and Carol, and it's that whole thing. And then
Yeah.
he just gets his redemptive arc, and he just takes it, and he just, I mean, literally just runs with it. It just and takes it, and he just kind of makes
Yeah.
the show his own. I mean, he just, he becomes, like I said, he just becomes like our guide, through the whole show,
Yeah.
which I thought is just incredible. So,
Super good.
yay, Steve.
Yay,
Okay, so
Steve.
that does it for our superlatives.
There we
Ooh.
go.
So we'll get into some emails, and we'll wrap this up.
All right. I have the first email. This one is from Jordan. Hey, Colin and Doug. Happy year of Stranger Things return.
Yay!
Hope you each had a wonderful holiday and a happy new year. I sincerely apologize for my very lengthy first email to you a few months back. I appreciate you taking a couple of episodes to read through it. Simply had to unload all my thoughts after binging your podcast in a couple of months. You get it. Yeah, we get it. It's all
We
good.
do. Absolutely.
I will keep it brief this time and actually follow the prompt. Here are my votes for the following from all of the seasons overall. MVP. Gotta give it to Joyce Byers. I can only imagine how it must feel being a mother and foster mom, constantly worrying about your children being harmed from monsters for years.
Right?
Kudos to Joyce. I
Yes.
agree. When you were talking about Joyce as a honorable mention for MVP, I was thinking in my head, Winona Ryder plays. I think her best scenes are when she's actually playing just a mom, like concerned for her children. She does
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overbearing, kind of
Yeah.
neurotic, but
Great.
very accurate.
Yeah, no, she does great. Absolutely.
Yes. All right, back to Jordan. Best line, season 3, episode 8, when Murray walks towards the group inside the Star Court Mall, frantically waving the plans.
Yoo-hoo!
It is good.
That's great.
I watched that the other day and I got a good laugh about that.
All right,
He's good.
Mary Buttman. A little
right.
confrontation with Erica. It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, most spirited. Karen Wheeler, the 80s hair and the outfits. I mean, come on. She's
Right?
good.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
good stuff.
Really good
Good
choice.
stuff. Most strangest thing. Will getting possessed and infiltrated by the shadow monster / mind flayer on the field.
Yep.
Yeah, that was trippy.
Yeah, it's just a crazy scene. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, that's all for now. I'm sure you guys will chat about the ending of production for season 5 and having seen the sweet cast members and Ross Duffer's social media posts about it. While I know we're all dying to see how things end, I'm also not ready, but I am. But I'm not. But I really am.
Right.
Thanks again for keeping us excited and occupied in this intern time. Lots of love, Jordan. Yeah,
Thank you,
that's what I was
Jordan.
talking about earlier. I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's going to be so weird the closer we get. Well, like when we get a release date and we'll be able to like circle something on the calendar. And
I know.
speaking of which, there are a lot of social media posts about the 2025 Stranger Things calendar, like that you can go to like, Barnes and Noble and buy or whatever.
Oh, okay.
There were a couple dates like,
oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and they just said like it was like a May date and like a September date or something. It just says Stranger Things on it. So everybody's wondering if that's, when a trailer's going to come out or when the season's going to come out or if it's just random. I mean, it can't be just random, but I'll find a social media post on that too, and we'll put that
That's
up.
right.
It completely was in my head, and then it went out and just came right back in when we were talking about that. But
yeah, I did consume that information as well. I was like, oh, la-ti-da. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take a look and we'll dig that up. So
cool.
Okay, next email is from Harry. Hi, guys. Harry in Seattle. I'm going to do 4 groups of superlatives, one for each season. I'm not sure how to talk about most spirited because all that 80s set dressing is invisible to me. I noticed the tube socks with the 2 colored stripes, but only because I kind of miss those socks and would wear them every day if I could.
I miss those socks too. Right? Bring them back.
So I'm going to create a second category for lines of dialogue, funniest line and most heartfelt, a bit of dialogue that made me laugh and one that made me feel connected to the characters. Season 1, MVP, Millie Bobby Brown. A lot could have gone wrong with this show, but the biggest risk was who they cast as 11. Without her in that role, finding the perfect balance between vulnerable, otherworldly, and dangerous, your podcast wouldn't exist. That's true. She made it work. Strangest thing from season 1, the alphabet Christmas lights. One downside of horror is that it recycles old story tropes, so I'm going to be looking for moments that feel fresh to me in my first watch. Those alphabet lights are iconic. Absolutely. Yeah. Here. Funniest line, Mike, as Brenner and company are closing in.
If anyone asks where I am, I've left the country.
Great. Iconic line. Absolutely.
Yep.
And then most heartfelt line was Karen talking to Nancy after Nancy gets back from Steve Harrington's party, and Barb has disappeared and everything is going crazy. And Nancy kind of sneaks in, but Karen catches her.
Nancy,
What?
you can talk to me. You can talk to me. Whatever happened.
Harry says Cara Bruno really makes that moment work, though I am sorry they brought that line back again and again and again and again and again, which is true. On to season 2. MVP goes to Noah Schnapp. All the kudos to that kid. No notes. Strangest thing from season 2, the mind flayer getting closer and closer to Will with every manifestation. On to the best lines of season 2. Funniest line was Callahan when Hopper, you got to remember, he was in the police station. He was looking at the map, kind of mapping where everything is, and realized he was kind of concentric circling it all leads back to the Hawkins lab. So he grabs the map and storms out, and Powell and Callahan kind of watch him go. So it's this bit.
Gee, where you go? You want us to go back out there? Why's he gotta kick the door?
Yeah, why is he going to kick the door? He kind of kicked the, like the little half door next to the desk. Why is he going to kick the door? And then Harry says, tomorrow I might wish I'd chosen the motel lady, saying, we got those, in the bit where Nancy and Jonathan go to the hotel. Most heartfelt line is 11 riding with Hopper. And this is after 11 gets back from the Lost Sister episode in Chicago. And she's riding with Hopper, and Hopper mentions how Sarah had a book about outer space.
Sarah had a picture book about outer space. She loved it.
Who's Sarah?
Yeah, that "Who's Sarah" line. It's just like, right? Harry says, because Elle has been living with Hopper for almost a year and he's never mentioned the dead daughter he tells everyone about. Steve acknowledging that he's a shitty boyfriend is a close second, which was my line. Great moment there. On to season 3, MVP for Harry is Winona Ryder. Lots of, let's say, unfortunate dialogue in this season, but Ryder's balance of the serious and comedic is perfect, unlike the rest of the class. Strangest thing is the meat flayer kaiju, which is when I mentioned the goo monster in the hospital. Funniest line is Max and Elle having the conversation outside Max's house.
Happy Screams? What is Happy Screams? It's like, I'm just gonna lend you my mom's Cosmo.
Which is great. And then
Happy
the most
Screams. I like that.
most heartfelt line was in season 3. And this is Lucas's line after everybody but Elle is in the living room and everybody wants to keep using Elle to figure out what's going on and defeat the monsters. And Mike stands up and says, I don't want her to do this. Y'all just taking advantage of her. And I'm really scared because I love her. And everybody kind of stops and goes, what did you just say? And then Elle walks in. So it's Lucas's line in this exchange here.
What's going on?
Nothing. Just family discussion.
Yeah, just family discussion. On to season 4 for Harry MVP. Sadie Sink and David Harbour share the award. Harbour is great and finally gets a chance to demonstrate it, but Sink's performance in the first few episodes has big movie star energy. She was magnetic in those scenes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Strangest thing, or most stranger thing, is Chrissy's death. The Duffers went all in and they weren't bluffing. Absolutely. Funniest line or moment is Sadie Sink again, but this time it's her silence as she stares at Steve's hairy chest in that bit down by the lake. The scene we've talked about a lot with Dustin and Lucas and with the binoculars and that thing. And then a most heartfelt line was as the boys were in the pizza van. And this is right after Will shows Mike his the painting. And then it's Will telling Mike that it's okay, that he makes people feel it's okay to be different.
Sometimes you feel like a mistake. But you make her feel like she's not a mistake at all. Like she's better for being different. And that gives her the courage to fight on.
Which is another really great moment. Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, but yeah, still a good moment. So Harry says, those are my superlatives, all my best, Harry. So that's it for that. Thank you, Harry, for writing in. I appreciate it. Glad to hear from you again.
All right, next one is from Ellie. Hey, Colin and Doug, Happy New Year. Hey, have you had a good start to the year? Sure, yeah, I've been fine.
Yeah, sure. A little cold, a little snowy, but, we're good.
Yeah, Bills are the number 2 seed.
All right, there you go.
It only took, how many episodes did it take me to mention the Buffalo Bills? Jesus, I'm so proud of myself.
I know.
This psychopath. All right, I have, but some of my friends haven't. One of them managed to get her brand new iPhone stepped on by a horse.
Ouch.
Okay.
Yikes.
Anyway, can you believe it's 2025? No. Like the date has a 5 at the end of it. 2015 is 10 years ago. 2030 is in 5 years. Yeah, that just blew my mind when I was reading
it's crazy.
It's honestly insane. Anyways, two superlatives. Most Stranger Thing for Most Stranger Thing for me is Chrissy's death, the first time when we see Vecna killed, but also the whole part leading up to her death, were the parents in her vision and etc.
Yep.
Most spirited. I don't actually have an opinion because I wasn't born in the 80s, so I'll just say the outfits overall. The costumes are very good.
They are very good. We talked about that a lot. I remember
Through the roof.
one of my most spirited things was back when they had the assembly when Elle made Troy pee his pants after the assembly. The kind of the Will's Memorial Assembly. And I remember talking about all of the costumes of all of the kids on the bleachers and how
Oh
there
yeah.
weren't any traditional 80s outfits. They were all like the
Oh yeah.
traditional from the early 80s, kind of the browns and the oranges and the corduroys and the
A
dark
lot of
green
cords.
kind of stuff. Yeah, which I thought was just great. Really great, costume
Yes.
design there. Yep.
Absolutely. All right, for best line, this one is so hard. There are so many great lines, but I'll settle for one from Erica, which I feel pretty much sums up the whole show.
You know what this half-baked plan of yours sounds like to me? Child endangerment.
Yeah. And then later saying, commence Operation Child Endangerment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is really good.
All right, finally, my overall MVP is L, because let's be honest, nobody is surviving past season 1 without this badass little girl. See you next month. Bye, Ellie.
Yay, Ellie. Thanks for writing in. Appreciate. Always great to hear from you. Our
Yeah, it's
last
hard not to
email.
pick L.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to stay
Yeah.
away from the obvious ones, L
Yeah.
being the most obvious,
Mhm.
but yeah. But yeah, you can't argue obviously
No.
with any of those. So yes, thank you again, Ellie, for writing it. It's always great. Last email on this, and then we have one that kind of following up the last episode we did. So this last one's from Amy. Hey, Scoopers, I'm only submitting one nomination for a superlative for most spirited. I nominate the 4 kitchens shown in the season 1, chapter 1 episode. Seeing these disoriented me as though I went back in a time machine. The recreated kitchen sets are what hooked me into the show. At the Wheeler home, Karen packs up leftovers in Tupperware with the fluted lids. Accurate miniatures of fruit and vegetable magnets hold recipes on the fridge. Hop's kitchen table holds a Christmas poinsettia cookie tin on the table despite it being November. Did Flo start baking treats early that year, or was this a tin that's been out for 11 months? We'll never know. Hop's kitchen dish towel is slung through the refrigerator door handle where it will never fully dry. Absolutely. Joyce's kitchen has a collection of dry goods in their original tin containers, like Brim coffee and saltines. Was everything in a tin container? Yes, Amy. Yes, it was. And the pantry is stocked with an abundance of canned corn, a sack of onions, hot sauce, and a canister of oats. I guess we know the secret ingredients in Benny's Burgers. Be well, my dudes, from Amy G. Thank you, Ames. Always good to have you write in as well. So.
Oh yeah, the set designs are really excellent. You know what? I can't believe we haven't mentioned the basement. The basement is just so good for me.
Yeah, and all the toys and the board games and the Millennium
yeah.
Falcon and all that kind. It's just
yeah.
really, really good stuff. Yeah.
All
right, bring it home.
All right, this is a off-category email from Chad. Hey, Colin and Doug, I'm sorry for the late email, but listening to the last episode reminded me of something that happened to me in the fall of 1987. I was 12 and I just started 7th grade when Rascals, the local teen club, opened in my hometown of Kingsport, Tennessee. On Friday nights, middle school kids could pay $5 to enter the club from 7 to 11. As you walked in, there was a snack bar on the left with a few tables and chairs, and on the right, there were a few video games. Tucked in behind the snack bar was the movie theater, which included stadium seating without the seats, rows of carpeted benches on 3 levels. A large screen was up front. They would show recent movies on VHS, such as Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pretty in Pink, and other teen fare. Past the snack bar was the arcade where I spent most of my time. There were arcade games surrounding 2 pool tables. I fed many, many quarters into the Double Dragon machine they had in there. The real highlight of the club was upstairs. This is where the dance floor was. There were live DJs every Friday and Saturday night, high school night. this was where the guys stood against the walls during fast songs while the girls danced in pods all across the floor. When a slow song started, the guys would try to get enough courage up to ask a girl to slow dance, which consisted of swaying from the left foot to the right while the girls had her hands on your shoulders.
Yep.
And the guy lightly rested his hands on the girl's waist. If a guy was brave enough to slide his hands to the girl's butt, it was major news and very scandalous.
I laugh because it's true.
It is.
It's exactly how it happened. Yep.
You may ask, where were the adults to keep everything PG? As far as I can remember, they were nowhere to be found except for collecting money at the door and working concessions. What a wild, different time. I remember I was supposed to have my first date at Rascals that fall. It was set up through lots of note passing in class. Oh, I just love that part.
Right.
However, when the time came and Megan was waiting to hang out in the theater, I chickened out and played more Double Dragon. I spent the rest of the night attempting to avoid her.
That's great. I mean, Chad is just kind of nailing it right on the head. But yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I think I was in 7th grade in 1997, 10 years later, and I have the exact same stories.
Yeah. I mean, I can draw you pictures. I probably have photographs that can back up his story. But yeah.
Yes. Does anyone have memories of teen clubs? I didn't have a teen club, but we had a youth center in my town that did throw the dances. It was sort of just like a rec center.
Yeah.
But they had they did have their dances there, and it was.
I mean, we had school dances, but
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So yeah.
We definitely had the school dance too. This was like you could go if you were in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. So we were like in my town we had East and West, right? We had West. So, but at the town dances, the two schools mingled.
Oh.
So there was lots of drama. There was there were fights and like girls from the other school and
nice.
my. All right. Back to Chad's email. How bizarre that we were basically clubbing in middle school. I've added a YouTube link from 2008 with a lady giving a tour through Rascals. It looked the same and was still in operation. Unfortunately, it has since shut down. Wow, bummer.
But we'll post a link to that in the social so you guys can see that too. But yeah.
Thanks for all the hard work on the 1987 episode. It was a ton of fun, Chad.
Okay. That pretty much does it for this episode. Scoops Ahoy! We'll be back on February 6th. And we're going to do another character deep dive. Everyone seemed to love the Lucas one and all the other ones we've done, Hopper and Elle and everybody. So this to go round, we're going to be talking about Robin Buckley. So I'm sure everybody will have plenty of thoughts and great memories and interesting things to say about Robin. So get us your emails by, and this should be easy to remember for at least people in the United States, but it's Groundhog Day. So get us your emails by Sunday, February 2nd. I don't think Groundhog Day is a global holiday. I think it's just a US thing, right?
I think so, yeah. Punxsutawney Phil.
It's so stupid that it's got to be just a US thing.
I know.
So yes, get us your thoughts, your top 5 list, your interesting clips, anything you want to send us about Robin, and we will talk about her for our very next episode. Emails by the 2nd. Next episode will be on Thursday the 6th.
Awesome. I'm excited. I love Robin. My second favorite character.
There you go.
All right. And remember, if you want to get in touch with the show, email scoopsahoypod@gmail.com and check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Discord. And please remember to leave a rating or better yet, a review on iTunes. Thank you for listening, and I hope you tune in next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Stranger Things audio clips and official score are the property of Netflix. Incidental music by Blue Mount Score from Pixabay.